Hey guys, this is Isaac from Contender Bicycles, and here today we're going to talk to you about bar roll and bar width. This is going to go over the drop bar and mountain bike side of things, saying how wide you might want your bars and how to roll them in relation to the bike itself. As far as drop bar bikes go, the first thing we're going to diagnose here is going to be bar roll. Bar roll is going to be identified by this bar right here, how the hoods are rolled forwards or backwards, and then the drops accordingly as well. On bars that have a slightly flat top, like a more ergonomic bar or a little bit more of an aerodynamic bar, this is going to be pretty easy. When the bike is level on the floor, you want the flat top of the bar to also be level with the floor as well. That makes it pretty easy. You can measure right there, and you getting your bar roll set up on that is not gonna be super hard. Now on bars like this, where they're more perfectly round and there's less of a flat top to gauge it off with the floor, an easy way to do bar roll on a road bike is look at the ends of the bar right here, and if you want those ends pointed towards where the seat clamp is, that's gonna give you a pretty good relative roll. Now from here, there is a little bit of personal preference. Let's say you're descending and you're in the drops and you feel like your wrists are too far back this way or forwards. You can adjust accordingly to how you like to where your hands sit in the drops. Now, as far as bar width goes on drop bar bikes, the easiest way to do this is going to be by measuring your shoulder blades. You can measure your shoulder blades or have somebody else help you measure behind, because your shoulder blades have a little bone right there that you can feel with the point of your fingers before they drop off. This is actually not quite your full shoulder width, so right here, it is more right there. You can feel that on both sides, and that measurement distance from behind is going to be a pretty good starting point for width. On most people, I know for me personally, like this width right there is 39 centimeters, so I can probably run a bar that is anywhere between 38 to 40 centimeters pretty comfortably. The other side of this is you can also go narrower or wider accordingly. If you're doing a lot of off-road and adventure riding, maybe you want something a little bit wider, you can go beyond that. Or if you're looking for really aerodynamic positions and you want to tuck your arms really far in, you can go narrower than that. I've ridden down to a 36 centimeter, even though my shoulders measure to 39, and I don't really find it to be an issue. Usually the more tucked and the more like long flat miles you're doing, the narrower you're gonna want to go, because you can pronate your wrist inwards and you can get your arms in front of you like this, and that's gonna be a little bit easier. If you're too wide, your elbows tend to swing out a little bit on your handlebars, which can't be super comfortable. But let's say you're on like an adventure bike, like a really big gravel bike or a bike packing bike, that can be pretty comfortable. Another thing to keep in mind is if you're on a bike packing bike, the wider your handlebars are, the more room you have for accessories like lights, garment mounts, and handlebar bags if you need those things on your bike. Now, something to keep in mind on a bike fit is going to be as well, let's say you are currently on a 42 centimeter bar and you want to size down to a 40 or maybe even a 38. If you're not going to change your stem length as you bring your bar narrower, that actually might sit you a little bit higher up, because as your arms come in, your back's going to come back up a little bit as well. So maybe think about doing it in tandem with a longer stem. Let's say you have a gravel bike that's currently on a 90 mil stem and you want to go a little bit narrower on the handlebars. Think about increasing your stem length to 100 as you go narrower to compensate and keep the same reach. Now, to do bar roll on a mountain bike, there is a little bit more room to change on here. The best way to start a bar roll on a handle bike is actually going to be looking at the angle of your fork. If you look at where the angle on your fork is in your head tube of your bike, the easiest thing to do is going to be matching your handlebar to that angle as a good starting point if you're not 100% sure where to put it. You can change it from there. I mean, you can go full BMX style and really roll it farther forwards or roll it fairly far up. Or if you want to bring your reach a little bit closer to you, you can roll them farther back. I would say as far as roll goes on a mountain bike, you want to be within this range right here, but you probably don't want to be further than that as well. If you're not 100% sure, again, matching it to the angle of the fork is the best place to start as far as rolling a mountain bike goes. Now, when it comes to bar width on a mountain bike, this is a lot more complicated as bars are so much wider than your shoulders. You can't just measure it like you can with a drop bar bike for a good starting point. Most bars on a mountain bike, like this one, are going to come pretty wide because you can always cut a bar down on a flat bar, but you can't grow them. So they're usually going to come pretty wide at something like an 800 millimeter or wider. As far as distance goes on this, honestly, I prefer to cut mine down a little bit narrower. Most people I ride with tend to ride around the 740 to 760 range on the bigger travel trail bikes, and sometimes on enduro bikes, 770, 780, etc. Usually, the narrower the bar is going to go correlate with travel. So the shorter travel you go, more towards an XC bike, race bikes, the narrower the handlebars get. A good way to think about this is on a shorter travel bike like an XC bike, where you really have to think about cornering the bike a little bit more heavily. The good way to put about it is if your bars are this wide on that bike, you have this much room in your elbows, your corner width in a tight bike burn. But if the bars are this narrow, then you have this much room. So you do have a little bit more leverage with your elbows on a shorter and narrower bar. This, again, just like we were talking about with the drop bar bikes, on a cross-country bike, if you run really, really narrow bars, you probably want to increase your stem length accordingly. On trail bikes, I would say a good starting point for bar width, if you are a little bit taller, would be 770 and going down from there. If you have a bigger trail bike, and honestly, if you're anything over 140 millimeters of travel, I probably wouldn't recommend cutting narrower than 740 unless you've been trying something bigger for a while and it still feels too wide. Now, if you want to leave your bars long, there are some advantages to this. Leaving your bars long does add some stability. You are more braced and you're in more of like what we call like a rider-ready position, and that is going to increase stability on the trail. If you're running really rough terrain, this could be advantageous for you. It is just a little bit harder to corner with. I would say start on the large side and cut down accordingly to what fits you. If you have any questions about bar width or you're looking to get your bars cut down, feel free to stop by with your bike in-store in our Salt Lake City or Park City store. Or if you have other questions, email us at info@contenderbicycles.com.